right, let's head to the Australian, and of course the Australian also. Chock-a-block full of good yarns. The Splash ALP pushes new climate deal. They're finally getting the message, Ollie. Opposition Resources spokesman Joel Fitzgibbon will call on Labor to reach a sensible settlement on climate change and adopt the Morrison government's 2030 emissions reduction target, arguing that the policy shift would lift the party's support in working class and regional areas. You know what? Joel Fitzgibbon should be opposition leader. This is the most sensible thing I've heard from a Labor politician in the last 10 years. If they want to win the next election, they've got to go in with a sensible emissions reduction target. The Paris Agreement commits us to 28% emissions reductions by 2030. This 45% renewables target, crazy renewables target that Shorten took to the election. And then he said, I really don't know exactly how much it's going to cost, the impact on the economy. It might be, 200 billion, it might be 1.2 trillion. Just elect me and then I'll work that one out. Now we've got Fitzgibbon finally, and Fitzgibbon got a big scare, Ollie. He's the member for Hunter down there. A lot of coal mines. He nearly lost. One Nation polled extraordinarily well there off the back of saying, we will support the mining industry.
Yeah, and this is the stance that Labor needs to take. So it's a brave move, really, by Joel Fitzgibbon as well, standing up to the left and other members of his party as well. He's really put his head on the chopping block here, but he's right. And he's right, because if Labor wants any chance of winning the next federal election, they have to sort out what their climate policy is quick smart. They need to sort out what a bunch of their policies are quick smart. I had Anthony Albanese on the program yesterday, still not ruling out franking credits, still not ruling out negative gearing changes, says we'll know what the answers will be in the fullness of time. Exactly right, just get rid of it. Bill Shorten took responsibility finally over the weekend, and now it is time for the Labor Party to get their heads together to come up with some alternative policies. They don't need to spell everything out right now because it's too far out from the election, but they need to rule a few things in and out. And I think at the moment, climate policy is a big cloud hovering over not only the Morrison government, but is hovering over the Labor Party. At least we know what Scott Morrison and the Liberal Party stands for when it comes to its climate policy. The same cannot be said for the Labor Party. So well done to Joel Fitzgibbon. But, gee, he's got a tough job ahead of himself to try and sell it to the rest of his caucus.
Courageous, Lisa?
Yeah, and Joel Fitzgibbon is sort of the shining light at the moment, isn't he? And like you said before, he really is in that difficult position, because when you look at the electorate that he's representing, he really has to walk a fine line there. But look, I think if you talk to the average Australian on the street, they don't really know what Labor stands for anymore. And I think that is what Shorten touched on the weekend, when he admitted that he lost the unlosable election. He finally stood up and said, they need to stop and look at what position they're in. But there's still no real clear-cut answers from them as to what they do stand for and what they represent. They still haven't found that ground that they need to own if they have any chance. And look, it's going to impact them here, on a state level here in Queensland as well when we head to the election next year.